Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today we are going to look at regarding our next lecture uh, of Property Management 2, which is we are going to look at regarding the environment. This is this is relating towards the aspect of property management organization and how we will relate towards the environment, the surrounding areas. If we didn't conduct our services as efficiently as we need to. Okay. So in a general sense, regarding the environment, is that we can see that there are a lot of problems or even issues that is happening all around us. So like in the fish stocks declining and degradation of the coastal landscapes, damages towards the coastal habitats, threats to biodiversity, overall decline in environmental quality, the decline in human health, damages to the coastal infrastructure and also amenities. Other than that is that we have the introduced species, the invasive species in our countries, and the contamination from offshore oil and gas activities. So we as property managers, not only we conduct the services of managing properties, but sometimes we are also involved in developments of new buildings or even properties. So this kind of actions, we need to be more aware of the surrounding areas, so that this kind of issues or problems does not happen on our watch, as you will become the middle level or even top level managers of the organizations. Okay. For factors causing land degradation, we need to look some of the causes, like having transport, building up roads, railroads, having markets, settlements, having public services, or even private companies doing their work, hydropower, mining, or oil exploration. Agriculture, whereby is also a part of property development, whereby the jungle or even the forest is being cleared up, so that cattle can be expanded, so they can have more grazing areas. So we sacrifice the forest or even jungles in order for us to get fresh livestock, wood extractions, demographic, economic factors, whereby in demographic, relating towards migration, more and more people coming up from the rural areas towards the urban areas in order to get and seek job opportunities, to seek for education, to seek for advancements in their lives or whatsoever. Okay, so this type of actions, they will help to degrade the environment faster. And maybe if our duty is not to reduce, but maybe just to manage the type of degradation, because as human population is increasing, there's not much that we can do. Don't just leave it towards the authorities to manage all of this, but uh, we must have the enlightenment, so that we are aware of what is happening all around us. Okay. So impacts of development, like we already said before, towards the land, towards the surrounding area, towards the environment, of course losing up the biodiversity, damages the surface of the land, decreasing the water resources, whereby you don't have the water catchment areas anymore, like the forest or even the jungle. So of course the rainwater cannot be harvested as naturally as the environment can be as before. Toxic contamination, acidification, overusage of land, overusage of water, the population increasing, development of industry. So in a sense, not only as a property manager, but in a sense of property developers. So this kind of actions, yeah, we need to try to become more considerate. Okay. So if we look at relating towards the managing of the property and also the environment, so the main issue right now is that environment has become a legal hot button in the last couple of decades. So proactive approach to managing environmental hazards that affect property management and also the proper maintenance is necessary for us to reduce the liability. So in terms of legally speaking, trying to reduce liability so that we don't get punished by authorities, by the authorities. But of course, as a human being, we just don't need the sometimes we just don't need the law to guide us. We need to have the self-conscious first, self-conscious, so that we need to have the actions of that. We love our surrounding area, we love the environment, and also we love the earth. Okay. How acid rain can form, based on the factory development, based on the agriculture residues, whereby the agriculture, they can have the fertilizers, the chemical fertilizers, or even the excretion of the animals. They can seep through the soil and then being transferred towards the natural water supply, that is in this case is the river. The river is being flowed with the chemicals, and then goes towards the ocean, and then infecting the fishes in the ocean, and the overall food chain. And then of course we as humans, we catch this fish and then we eat them. We eat the shellfish that maybe contain high level of ammonia. So this high level of ammonia or whatever can become toxic to us back eventually. So other than that is that on the property management level is that we have the indoor scale, whereby we can have the situation of the sick building syndrome, having the heat island, urban ozone, local acid rain, water pollution, or even the waste disposal that is not being conducted properly. So managing environmental issue, 40% of the world's energy is consumed by buildings, and 21% of greenhouse gas emissions come from the buildings. And this shows that the building itself is a very high user of power being generated by these power plants. And of course the power plants also is not really that environmental friendly at the first place. So like fossil fuel power plants or even coal power plants, they generate lots of emissions in the first place, and then afterwards is being used up by the buildings that we as a property manager we manage. And then this building emits the greenhouses that of course eventually will result in the thinning of the ozone layer. So based on this, so if we can integrate new proposition or even new phenomenons, like in your case studies, through intelligent building automation, so about 40% of the energy savings can be realized. So we are the front runners for the properties, as we are the property managers. We manage these buildings, and if we help to implement this building automation or even green building technologies, we can collectively help to reduce environmental issues that is happening in our country, or even outside the region of our country, in the continent of Asia, or even global scale. Okay. So a property management plan, we need to have a holistic approach in the first place. Meaning of the holistic approach is that is a very comprehensive approach. It covers everything. So based on this, is stated as maximizing the cost savings, so that we can reduce the cost, we can incur more profits, or even we can divert the cost reducing measures, so that we can focus on other aspects of the property. Either we can conduct a new refurbishments or whatsoever. Reducing energy consumption, improving the environmental sustainability of the property portfolio. So this kind of actions, of course, based on theory, it seems very simple, but sometimes in reality, uh, we don't think a lot about that. We just think about reducing the cost. In terms of using products, we use the ones that is more hazardous towards the environment, because it's much cheaper. Budget dictates everything, so we have to we have to reduce that kind of attitude. So sometimes using product is more environmental friendly, even though it's more expensive, but if it can help save the environment, so why not? Or why not? Convince the you convince the residents or the customers or even the top level managers, convince them. We can make the change. Okay, so building management, we need to look at what is the things that is available inside the building or even the property, how the building is operated, how efficiently the space is being used, the process deployed to manage and maintain it, building renovation and refurbishment, the flexible adaptation of usage, and of course building conservation. Like what is happening right now in Malaysia, we have this UNESCO heritage sites in Georgetown or even Malacca. In Georgetown and Malacca, if you wanted to conduct a renovation or refurbishment or re-demolition or whatever, you must have the consent from the UNESCO heritage department, so that they try to conserve this heritage building, and not only based on the design of the buildings, but this older buildings doesn't have to be redeveloped. If you try to redevelop, of course it will fork out massive resources and eventually affecting the surrounding environments. Okay, so sustainable property management. Buildings, particularly the older structure, are a major consumer of energy. Maybe in the UNESCO, of course, they consume a lot of energy, but the energy afterwards in rebuilding them is not available. So we don't have to put up more resources afterwards. But based on this, the old buildings can have a quite high number consumption of heating and also cooling. Heating maybe not really that important in Malaysia, but cooling is very important. We need to have air conditioned buildings so that the occupants can live pretty comfortably. For lighting, powering all types of business and necessary equipment, and providing all the services that people and institutions need to live and conducting the businesses. So how we are going to reduce the carbon and also cost? So we need to identify what is the challenges and also the pressure to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. And one area of opportunity is that both cost and CO2 emission reduction is located inside the real estate portfolio. So you make it the aim or even the goal of the organization. So the goal of the organization is that we will in 10 years time reduce the amount of resources needed to operate the property. So therefore it will reduce the cost, and eventually we will distribute the reduction in cost towards all of the customer or even the tenants inside, right? So this is some of the steps that we can help to implement in our property management plan, like having the design, the production, the installation, the indoor environmental quality, having the maintenance, the QA, the recovery, the recycling, and even the innovations. So this is all of the uh, green building initiatives that we can have and even implement in our organization. So strategic property management is needed to combat environmental issue, of course. Okay. So this is some of the examples that we can also use, how to make the building that we manage can become greener. Like I said before, if we have the rainwater harvesting system, this rainwater harvesting system can become a part of grey water. So this grey water, we don't use it for cooking or drinking or even bathing, but this grey water can be used in the toilets, in the washing closets, whereby when you flush the toilet, and then the grey water from the rainwater can be used to drain away all of the soils that we make when we use the toilet. Okay. Other than that is that we can have the solar panels help to heat up bad water, but in Malaysia maybe we don't need to have this hot water, but maybe the solar panels can help to generate some of the lightings inside the property. Okay. Rainwater channel into water baths can be used to water plants or even wash cars, using composting to reduce waste. In Malaysia, we don't we don't have this mincer at the sink, whereby the food waste cannot be shredded, but we just usually we throw inside the garbage bin, and then the garbage man will come and collect. But if we can help to separate, and maybe we have a composting bin, we will help to reduce the waste, and we can eventually make our own fertilizer. Other than that, is a turbine, having fluorescent light bulbs, which uses less energy, dual flush toilets, whereby you can use the smaller amount of water volume if you pee, and higher volume of water if you go and defecate. Okay. Other than that, green building, photovoltaic generation, this is part of the solar system that I said before. Having rooftop planting, whereby you can have green vegetables or plantations that can help to reduce the temperature inside the building. When the temperature inside the building is being reduced, then of course you don't need as much energy as before in cooling down the inside of the building, cooling down using the air conditioners. So this is a good example, whereby you are using natural ways to improve or even implement inside the property, making it more green. Okay. Other than that is that if you don't have the good elements of a building, it can lead towards the sick building syndrome. Sick building syndrome, we will look at what is sick building syndrome. So SBS is a situation in which occupants of a building experience acute health effects that seem to be linked to the time spent in the building, but no specific illness or cause can be identified. The complaints may be localized in a particular room or zone, but and also may be widespread towards the building. So the sick building syndrome sometimes can be related towards respiratory problems, or even headaches, or even lightheadedness, whereby maybe the water system is not very good, or even the air circulation inside the building is not very well. This may be affected by the products being used or even the chemicals that is available inside the property. So you as a property manager, you need to identify and also be aware of what is the complaints being made by the residents there, especially if they portray this kind of sick building syndrome symptoms. Okay. Understanding pollution sources, you can find out, and in detail about this afterwards. So sources of environmental hazards in building that we manage. So this is what I said before regarding the chemicals that is available. So if we try to save cost by using cheaper materials, but it's more hazardous towards the property, it's more hazardous towards the occupants, this is the kind of things that we can happen if you use lead based paint. So we can have lead poisoning that can be linked towards mental impairment, learning disability, development delays, and others. So of course we don't want this kind of thing to happen. Even in our petroleum products, of course, from the 1970s we have already outlawed the lead based petroleum. So all of our petroleum products in our country is considered unleaded. Toxic mold, radon. Radon is a deadly result of decay of uranium. So using this kind of thing, it can enter if the property is not being maintained properly, whereby cracks or opening that is available inside the building, and then the natural occurring gas can seep through the building and causes sick building syndrome. Other than that, carbon monoxide and nitrogen dioxide, asbestos. Asbestos usually located in the roofing materials, especially if you use the cheap grey ones, whereby they contain a lot of asbestos. That this asbestos eventually can help to increase the likelihood of contracting cancer. So be careful about the materials that we choose for maintaining our managed properties. Okay. Like this one, the symptoms affecting your wife, affecting your husband, affecting your children, having poor air circulation, high usage of chemical substances, gases, or air tightness in houses, whereby the air is very still, it doesn't have any ventilation. Okay, can generate formaldehyde from adhesive, chlorophyrifos generated from the ant poison. So be careful. Even the grass, what do you call the grass, even the grass, what do you call that, the one that you spray, even the grass chemicals that you spray is also very dangerous, even though it's very effective, but the chemical from the grass solution to kill all of the weed, it can seep through the soil and eventually poison the underwater water supply. Not underwater, under earth water supply. Okay. So reasons for performing audits is for the government to ensure that the development or even the property have the compliance towards all of the regulations being set out. Okay. All right. So I think that's about it regarding the environment and also how we can relate towards our profession of property management. So bear in mind, even though we manage a smaller aspect of a property, we manage one simple apartment blocks, for example, but if we didn't manage it properly, we didn't manage in consideration towards the environment, towards the nature, and of course we will help to contribute the faster degradation of the environment. So as a responsible property managers, try to elevate some of the costs with the balance of the environment. Don't just focus on using the cheaper materials, and eventually afterwards it will poison the surrounding areas, and especially the occupants inside our property. Okay, so I think that's about it for today. So I end this lecture with wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.